So this morning, our topic is compassion and self-compassion. I allowed a friend of mine to look at my notes, which I don't normally do. But when he looked at them, he said, so basically you're going to teach a class in the morning as opposed to speaking. So I agreed with that, yeah. So probably some of this is going to sound more like if I'm teaching, but remember, I'm a licensed Unity teacher. So sometimes that part sneaks into what I'm going to talk about. And this morning, I want us to think about compassion, how we have compassion for others in the world and what self-compassion is to us. And that song is a beautiful introduction because before we can love everybody else, we need to love ourselves. That's actually scriptural. It talks about the fact in Scripture that before we can love our enemies and love other people, we have to learn how to love ourselves. For a lot of us, that is so difficult to do because we know ourselves inside and out. So it's hard to always think those wonderful and good things about ourselves. And when you look at the word compassion, it actually means to suffer together with someone. Isn't that an interesting word? To suffer together with them. It's responding with concern for their sufferings, for the misfortune of others. Wikipedia says that compassion is a social feeling that motivates people to go out of their way to relieve the physical, mental, or emotional pains of others and themselves. So this definition brings us back to thinking not only of how we can be compassionate to others, but also how we show that compassion to ourselves. The parable of the Good Samaritans found in Luke chapter 10 in the Christian scriptures. And it's a story of a traveler, likely a Jewish person, who's attacked and robbed on the road from Jerusalem to Jericho. He's stripped, he's beaten, he's left for dead. And initially, a priest and a Levite, both religious figures, just going to throw that in, passed by the injured man and ignored him. Then a Samaritan, traditionally a member of a group that the Jews considered to be enemies, crossed his path. And when he comes along and sees the injured man, he decides that he's going to help. So he soothes the man's wounds with oil and wine. He places him on a donkey, and he takes him to an inn. And the Samaritan pays for the man's care. And not only did he pay for his care at that moment, but he said, I'll come back later and pay you anything else I might possibly owe you if you'll take care of this this person. So Jesus uses the story to teach us how to be a neighbor to each other. That's the context of the story. But I want us to think about it for showing compassion this morning. Who do we show compassion to? Who are we called to show compassion to? That would be our neighbor, and according to Christ, our neighbor is everybody. We are all one. We discuss that oneness over and over. But it's important to remember that we are to show love to every person that we come into contact with. The flip side of that story is life can be a lot sometimes. Maybe it's just mine. But some days I've had it up to here with life. And I'm done with all the different things that are going on in my world and all the things that are causing me to feel overwhelmed and to go into survival mode and become critical of myself and others. And then I can start to feel really alone. And when I feel that way, that's when I need my self-compassion to kick into high gear. I need it to come out full force. That self-compassion acknowledging that I'm going through a tough time and knowing that I'm going to love myself through the adversity. I'm going to love myself through that difficulty. Now, I want to say first, self-compassion is not self-pity. When you think about self-pity, that emphasizes the ego state that we all have. And when it emphasizes that part of us, it allows us to become all wrapped up in that emotional drama. I'm sure none of us wrap up in our emotional drama when we're having a tough time. But occasionally, that part starts to take over. That's self-pity. We're talking about self-compassion, loving yourself through a difficulty. I also want to say, while we're down that road, that it's not the same as self-indulgence. Self-indulgence is when we just decide we're going to do whatever it takes to make ourselves feel good. And there are all kinds of ways we know that people do that. Some days, just to be truthful, I look at myself and go, it's been a rough week. So on Saturday, instead of cleaning my house and taking care of the outside and doing all the things I'm supposed to do, I'm going to watch television for an entire day and eat a quart of ice cream. Yeah, some days we're there. Chocolate, I heard that. Some days we get to that point. That's being self-indulgent. We're to be self-compassionate. We're to look at ways that we can love ourselves through the difficulty that we find ourselves in. And I think sometimes we're really hard on ourselves. We try to change ourselves by shaming ourselves for some action that we've taken or something we've done in the past or all of those other things. But reality is we need to look forward and look to ways that we can take care of ourselves and provide the safety that we need to be comfortable taking care of ourselves. Self-care is treating yourself like you're your best friend. We're supposed to be our best friend. How would you treat your best friend when they're having a difficult time? That's how you need to treat yourself. That is showing compassion for yourself. It's not hearing and taking to heart all of our self-talk. So when I do something that's not the brightest thing that I might have done, I tend to talk to myself a lot. And it's never good stuff. About 8 months ago, and I can't remember if I shared this with you guys before or not, but I had a deadline to meet at work. For those of you that don't know, I work for the University of Central Florida, and I work out of the provost office. But this particular assignment was one that was given me by the president of the university. And he needed a list of numbers to answer some questions. And I put my list together, and being cocky, I didn't let anybody else look at them because I was confident that I was right. And I sent my letters off to the president's office. And about 2 minutes later, I got an email that said, I think one of your numbers is wrong. It was. He was very gracious and he was very kind. And he sent a very nice email. But I started beating myself up. I first corrected the number. Then I made sure he got it and we were good. But the next part of it was days of self-talk that was negative about myself. And asking myself things like, why did you do that? Why didn't you do this? And then I began to should on myself. Y'all ever do that? You should have done this. You should have done that. You shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have done whatever. Blah, blah. On and on. 3 days of it. Even at night, I would sit at home thinking of what a dumb thing I had done and convincing myself that this was not my brightest moment. And then I became very painfully aware of my own self-talk. Usually I catch it faster than that. But this one seemed to take a while. So I had to question, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I talking to myself this way? And I finally stopped judging myself, which we often do. I stopped blaming myself and faulting myself and decided to treat myself as I would if I were my best friend. Teach myself and talk to myself as I would if I were my best friend. So I began a process. This is Hank's process for self-compassion. Nobody else. I started with just being quiet. Then saying to myself out loud, I love you. I trust you. I see your heart. And I see that you are whole. Those are my 4 statements that I go over and over in my mind when I am starting to talk about myself in a negative way. I love you. I trust you. I see your heart. I know you are whole. So I've been looking at self-compassion because a friend of mine, Reverend Dr. Martha Creek, some of you may know Martha, is doing a year-long study on self-compassion, where each day she posts 1 minute of self-compassion and how she's shown it to herself in her life. And it's funny, because Martha is a funny person. But it also makes you think, how can I do these things? How can I reflect this in my life? And how can I let the Christ presence that's in me and that is greater than my own self-talk take over and be in control? I remind myself that everything I need to be compassionate for myself is already within me. Everything I need is a part of who I am already. Dr. Kristin Neff wrote a book called Self-Compassion. And she says there are 3 important parts to self-compassion. The first one is mindfulness. So we need to be mindful of our feelings. Are you feeling sad, frustrated, or some other emotion? And she says one of the keys is to not judge how you're feeling. Just feel it. Feel your feelings and let that be a part of who you are and what you're doing right now, but without the judgment. Acknowledge how you feel. Get comfortable saying to yourself, I'm having a tough time today. When my mother was going through Alzheimer's, she went through it for 7 years. So every third weekend, I went up and stayed for 4 or 5 days with her because my brother lives 5 houses over from where she lived, and we were paying someone to stay with her all the time. But when I was there, I would find myself starting to do my hands together into little fists, just so I wouldn't say anything stupid, because I felt like it. The 15th time she asked me who I was and referred to me as somebody else, and it hurt. Then I would find myself starting to do the self-talk with myself. If you had done this, you would be different. Within the first year of her having Alzheimer's, she was with her caregiver, and she told her caregiver that the person she was talking to wasn't me because I had long hair. Because all of my life, when I lived with her, I had long hair. It was the 70s. So I grew my hair back. Some of you may remember that. And I let it get down to about here. And I talked to the people at work and went, look, this is what I'm going to do. And from that point on, my mother recognized me every time I went home. You take the little battles where you can get them. And you make that a part of what stays in your heart. So that when things were difficult, and again, she asked me for the 19th time where the cake was or how the twins were doing, and I don't know who the twins are. You get frustrated. But you learn to let it go by self-compassion. You feel those feelings that you're having. And then you learn to carry those out, because she says the next part of self-compassion is the self-compassion itself. And that we need to not be hard on ourselves, that we need to be gentle with ourselves. One of my favorite songs is Karen Drucker's Gentle with Myself. Don't know if you know it or not. But the words to the song say, I am gentle with myself. I am gentle with myself. And I hold myself like a newborn baby child. And I rock myself like a newborn baby child. And I love myself like a newborn baby child. And here's my favorite line in the whole song. I will only go as fast today as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. Self-compassion. If you're not ready to take a next big step, don't. Wait until you're ready. Wait until all of you is going in the right direction, moving toward things that are moving forward. And then she said to finally recognize our shared humanity. That's the third one. So first is mindfulness. Second is go into acts of self-compassion. And the third is to realize that we're all part of humanity. We are all spiritual beings having an earthly experience. And when we acknowledge that and we look at that, then we can move forward with ourselves. Dr. Neff also said when we are safe and comforted, we are in the optimal mindset to do our best. When we feel safe and comforted, we're there. Self-compassion is about treating yourself with kindness, understanding, and care that you would offer a good friend when facing a difficult situation. It involves being mindful of your suffering, recognizing that you're never alone in your struggles, and approaching yourself with gentleness rather than harsh self-criticism. There are a lot of benefits to self-compassion. Increased resilience helps us bounce back from things. Reduced self-criticism, that's key. Stop that self-talk that we all do. It also says that it can reduce anxiety and depression. Because I'm not talking badly to myself, I'm lifting myself up. So for each time that I say something negative about myself, I've always been taught to say now 3 things that are positive about myself. What can I do to build myself back up and to make myself go forward? Improved well-being and physical health. Stronger relationships because you're loving yourself, you can more easily love others. Greater motivation, increased self-esteem, increased self-worth. All are the benefits of self-compassion. So how do we do it? Practice mindfulness. Whatever it is you need to do to make yourself comfortable, do it. If it's just sitting in a room being quiet. This morning was lovely. My family were all asleep and I got to just sit in a room and be quiet. No television turned on, no radio turned on, no music, no anything, just quiet. And in that quiet, I got to think about the sensations that were going through my body and feel those feelings. And then sometimes I use guided meditations. I encourage you to find a spot that has those. Reframe your negative thoughts. Challenge those self-critical statements. Don't let them go through your head constantly. Practice self-care. If you need to go take a hot bath, take a hot bath. And if it needs bubbles, then you need to put some bubbles in there. You may need to go walk in nature. It's said that if we would take our shoes off and walk in the dirt and the grass for 20 minutes every day, we would all be better people. I don't do that. But I do get out of my office and take walks around the building every day. Different things for different people, but we need to practice our self-care. We need to be kind to ourselves, and when we make a mistake, let them go. We need to seek support from others. When we need help, we need to ask for it. And if that means we need to ask a therapist, then we need to ask a therapist. If it means we need to tell our partner, I'm not having a good day, you might need to back off for a minute, then that's what you need to do. It works. So I have homework for you. You know, I spent that 30 years as a teacher. That doesn't ever go away. So here's your homework. I want you to go home today, and I want you to stand in front of your mirror. I want you to look at yourself with kindness instead of criticism. Consider how many times you look in the mirror and you scan yourself for everything that's wrong. We're looking to see, is our makeup right? Are our clothes adjusted correctly? Does everything look fine? How is my hair today? Forget all of that. Nobody cares. This is you in your mirror. Stand in front of that mirror, look at yourself, and inspect to connect, not to withdraw from. Look in your own eyes and say, I see you. I love you. I honor you. I see you. I love you. I honor you. Be sure that you do this homework. It will amaze you how energy will shift in your body when you're looking at yourself for positive things and not for the negative. You're looking not about vanity, but about validation of yourself. You are worthy of being seen and of being loved from others and from yourself. Martha Creek said in her last newsletter, "There's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are a human being doing the best you can with what you know in this moment." Remember that about yourself. We are doing the best we can with what we know at this moment. Can we do better? Absolutely. Can we do better in this moment? Probably not. And it's okay. Love yourself. This week, practice that self-compassion and show yourself the love that you have for yourself, and then reach out and share it with others. And so it is. Amen.